Drawing this tiger is easier than you think, and I'm going to show you exactly how you can do it, no matter your skill level. Hello wonderful people, it's Genevieve, and my goal here on this channel is to teach you all about illustration and design. So if you're new, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of the weekly videos and so that you can join our wonderful creative community. And with that said, grab your drawing tools and let's get started. Okay, so real quick, just before we start, I wanted to come in and say, since filming and editing this video, I posted a few more drawing tutorials that were using this format, which means the sketching part and the coloring part in two separate videos, as well as having the sketching on top of the original illustration. If that doesn't make sense to you, that's totally fine. Don't worry about it. But I know this new format has been really super polarizing. Some of you have been loving it, and I've been getting really great results with it. Everything you share on Instagram has just been looking super good, so that's really exciting. But I know some of you have been really not a fan of this new format, let's say, which is totally okay, that's understandable, not everyone learns in the same way. That being said, if you're one of those that don't like this format, I'll be making some videos with the other format as well, so don't worry about that. But please don't get angry in the comments, that is not the place for that. And especially don't get angry at other people that post nice comments saying that they like this new format. Remember, everyone learns differently, and that is totally fine. And with that said, let's just start sketching. So this video is really special to me. It is part of a mini-series which is going to be about drawing this tiger, but more than that, it is going to be part of the Vulnerable Animals Week on Instagram. So if you're familiar on Instagram, sometimes there are some illustrators that come together to create a themed week. So they pick a subject, and every day there are different drawing prompts. So this week is Vulnerable Animals Week, in which every single prompt is about a different continent. So the goal is to find an animal that is endangered and then draw it to kind of bring awareness to the different species that are struggling on planet Earth right now. So today the continent is Asia, so I thought we might want to draw this little tiger together. If you want to check out the challenge, I will link it in the description below, of course. And I will be drawing a different animal every single day this week, posting them all. So for now, we're going to draw the tiger. But at the end of the week, once the challenge is over, I'm going to put out a poll on Instagram in which you can vote for which other animal from the week you would want to have a tutorial on. So with that said, we're going to start. Today, the video is going to be about sketching the tiger, and later this week on Saturday we're going to have the second part of the video, which is going to be about coloring, shading, and adding the background and special effect to the illustration. Now I'm going to be drawing in Procreate, which is an app on the iPad Pro, and the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to create a new canvas. These are the dimensions that I will be using. It is literally just the size of my iPad screen. Since this is a demo, it doesn't really matter, but make sure that you find dimensions that work for your own project requirements. And if you're not sure what that means, I have a video in which I'm going to teach you everything you need to know in order to pick a canvas size. So we'll link that in the description below as well. Once you have your canvas, well, I'm going to start by just lowering the opacity of the example here, but you're going to go ahead and create a new layer for your sketch. So just clicking on the little plus icon right here, and you can rename your layer. I'm going to rename mine to Sketch. And we're not going to see the sketch in the final result, so you can use whichever color you want for sketching. I like to go with a super simple neutral gray. I don't know why, that's just my favorite. And same with the brush, you can go with whichever brush you know you're comfortable with and you have a lot of experience with, or just, you like the feel of in general. So that could be the HB pencil in the sketching panel. I'm personally going to be using my sketching brush from my illustration bundle. It is definitely not essential, especially for the sketch. I just like the feel of it quite a lot. So if you want to check it out, the illustration bundle will be linked in the description below, and there's always a special promo code just for the YouTube people. But again, definitely not essential. And the first thing we're going to do is simply going to be drawing the main center line of our character. Here, since he's just standing up trying to find his balance, or actually having found his balance, it's just a straight up vertical line from the top of the head to the bottom of the toe. So we're also going to map out the different sections. In this case, the head, the body, and the legs are equal sizes, so we're just going to divide our vertical line in 3 sections like this. Once that is done, we're going to draw a circle for the head, so just filling in the first section, and a circle with the same size, filling in the middle section for the body. We're also going to draw some ellipses for the shoulders and the hips, so just right here on the top around the neck, and then 2 more slightly larger ones around the bottom where the legs are going to attach with the rest of the body. For the legs, we're simply going to be drawing rectangles. So for the leg that is straight, you can draw a rectangle just like this, nothing complicated. And then we're going to pretend that our tiger has knees. So we're going to split this rectangle in two halves like this. And we're going to use these as a guide for the leg that is bent. So we're just going to match the bottom rectangle here on this side and then match the top rectangle here on this side as well. So that way we make sure that the legs, make sense and they're the same size. For the arms, we're simply going to be drawing ovals. So one oval that is going to be very thin, I guess, for the top of the arm, and then a larger, thicker oval for the forearm, because I like my tigers to have big, round paws. I think it makes them much cuter. So something a little bit like this. And we're also going to be using ovals to map out the paws or the hands, depending on how you want to call them. We're also going to draw the tail for a tiger. So tigers tend to have fairly thick, long tails that have a lot of structure and hold to them. So I like to pretend that my tiger is using its tail to balance himself on the little rock or mountain. So just something like this, very simple. Now before we draw the facial feature, it might be helpful to draw the actual middle line of the face. Since our character is looking a little bit towards the side, it is not straight on. You might want to just draw your kind of guidelines here slightly to the side as well. So just a plus sign basically like this. And once you have that, you can go ahead and draw the nose. I like to draw a really big nose that is pretty much just a rectangle with rounded corners. The eyes are just going to be slightly little curved lines just to make it look like a happy little tiger. And the mouth is going to be, I guess, a rounded W shape. The ears, I like to draw them just as simple rounded triangles like this, nothing crazy, nothing complicated. And you might want to go back and tweak the bottom shape of the head to kind of make the cheeks a little bit more pointy as opposed to just a rounded, totally circular face. Once that is done, you can sketch a kind of rock mountain like this, I guess. And you might also want to roughly sketch the movement of this little smoke or magic whatever is wrapping around the tiger. And here you want to make sure that your lines are super fluid so that the movement looks realistic. So try to just do it in one stroke for either side of the smoke shape. Awesome, so at this point we have this crazy messy looking sketch, but we're going to clean it up. So I'm going to hide the example. This is what you should have on your screen or on your piece of paper, depending on what you're working on. At this point, I like to lower the opacity of my sketch layer, but you could just go in and draw with a thicker brush or a darker color on the same layer. That is really up to your personal preference. If you go with the lowering the opacity of your layer route, you're going to then create a new layer above the first one and rename the new one to Clean Sketch. And this step is really quite simple. If you've made it this far in the video, you've done the hardest part of the work, so good job for that. Now we just have to figure out which lines we want to go with. So in general, when you're drawing characters, pretty much anything in illustration actually, it is always a good idea to just start with the rough shape to draw as quickly as you can and then go back in and find your line. So finding which line you want, finding the details in your character and just moving from there. So this is exactly what we're going to do here in this step. We're just going to take all the time we need to go back and refine the lines, draw some new ones, just make sure that our sketch is where we want it to be. Now, I prefer doing it this way than going back on the rough sketch and erasing. I find it creates illustration that have just a little bit more movement and life to them as opposed to making them kind of stiff. I like to stay away from the eraser in general and just undo and redo if I make a mistake, and I encourage you to try and do the same. I know it might be a little bit daunting at first, the idea of not using the eraser, but I think in general, not only you're going to get better results in the terms of movement and fluidity, but you're also going to get, well, you're going to save some time. It tends to be faster to undo and redo as opposed to erase and retry and erase and retry. Overall, you're going to, if you practice, save some time doing it that way. So anyway, at this stage, yeah, you're just gonna go over your rough sketching lines and your rough sketching shapes so that you find a better outline or a clearer outline, at least for a character. You can kind of think of it as if you are preparing a page for a coloring book. It doesn't need to be perfect because we're going to move on to adding the color later, but we want to know where we're going to put the color. And while we do that, it is a good time, I think, for the secret password. So if you're new on the channel, you might be like, what's the deal with the secret password? Well, we've been doing it for months now and people seem to really enjoy it. It is a point in the video in which on the screen I put a special word that if you've watched that to that point in the video, you just go ahead and write down the word in the comments. So in this video, the secret password is going to be stripes. So if you've watched this far, just go ahead and leave a comment with stripes. It gives me a lot of insight into how to edit and pace my videos better, but it's also a really great way for the community here on the channel to kind of see who's part of the community, who's working on the tutorials, and especially for me, you know, you guys know me, you see my face in the intro, you hear my voice throughout the entire tutorials, but I have no idea who you guys are. And whenever you leave a comment, I get to see sometimes your name, sometimes your picture, and yeah, it's just really great to see the creative community that we're building here on the channel. So just leave a comment saying stripes, and then we're just gonna keep going, sketching our, well, cleaning up our sketch. And at this point, feel free to take all the time you need in order to clean your sketch. It doesn't need to be perfect, but you need to have a clear idea of where you're going. I'm going to speed up the video, but we're going to meet at the next step in which I'm going to give you some pointers on how to make sure that your sketch is exactly where you want it to be before we move on to the color. So feel free to pause the video here and we're going to meet in the next step. Great, so once you have your clean sketch, you can either decide to just completely hide your first rough sketch layer to have only this clean sketch line. I personally like to keep both sketch layers. I think it shows more the character's volume, which is going to be helpful for shading later. So I'm just merging my two sketch layer by squishing them with 2 fingers. And you can also use the arrow tool here at the top and click flip horizontal here at the bottom, which is going to allow you to see your sketch kind of in a different eye, I guess. So that is a way of getting a better idea of what might be wrong in your sketch without having to take some time away. So you know how you leave a drawing and come back to it either a few days later, a few hours later, how sometimes you just notice that some things are not quite right? Well, flipping your sketch has a similar effect to taking time away from it, but it is obviously much more time efficient, so that is a trick I would really encourage you to try. And if you're drawing on paper, you can just bring up your piece of paper in front of the mirror and it's going to kind of give you that flipped view without you having to kind of trace it differently. You know, that's the way to do it if you're drawing traditionally with pencil and paper. So take all the time you need here to get your sketch where you want it to be before the color. You can add details if you want, but really don't spend too much time here. We just want to have a rough idea of where everything is going to be so that we can add the color in the next tutorial again, which is going to come out this Saturday, so you won't have to wait too long. In the meantime though, if you're eager and want to keep drawing more cute animals, you can check out this playlist in which I'm going to teach you exactly that, how to draw a bunch more cute animals like a bear, a dog, a cat, a koala, so many cute little things. But before you leave, make sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the weekly videos, especially the coloring part of this tutorial. Then click on the link right here and I'll meet you there.